Oh, you did 3 days already. Okay, got you. No, I just want to power to the people. The people united will never be defeated. Great. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Late this morning, but it's life. We're not robots, right? Come on in, everybody. Give me 1 minute. Uh, okay. Sorry about that, people. Good morning to everybody. Hey, Dave. How are you? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Morning, everybody. All right, we just finished out the run, finished out the walk, and cooling down right now and heading to base. But we want to say good morning to everybody. Today is going to be another beautiful day because we're alive, we're well. We thank God this morning that He has given us health and strength, and we're on the move again. So we're asking for you to join us. Anybody, anywhere that you live around the world, you could live anywhere to join us as we run for justice for all the victims of gun violence, family members, all of my mothers in Brooklyn, New York, in New York City. We are running for you. We're supporting you. We're loving you. We're thanking God. We're highlighting the fact that clergy, again, is working on the issue of gun violence in our communities. And we thank you, Pastor Nancy and Eric Pierre, for working out yesterday and hashtagging us, running for justice, working out, having some clergy self-care. It was definitely awesome to see how pastors who are exercising and moving has joined the movement. So right now, every morning, Monday through Friday, you can meet us at our park in Brooklyn, or you could meet up in your local community. Get a few people. Next week, we're moving away from just clergy only because we have to get them, Dave. We got to get the clergy out to run with us in the morning. The clergy's trying to sleep all night long. Don't say that. Clergy's trying to sleep. It's all right. Yeah, it's a tiring act. You know, sometimes most of them are exercising in the afternoon. Maybe we should do an afternoon run. One of these days, maybe one day. We should do an afternoon run maybe next week or so. All right, let's try it out and see. Let's try it out. Yeah, so definitely, we we want to make sure again that individuals, citizens, just normal, citizens who can join us too as well,
Right.
in the run. You get to uh, the sweat and get some energy up and running, and then here you go again. So again, surge in violence over the city. We had another mass shooting again in Brooklyn. Six
Yeah.
people were shot in Crown Heights. We consistently and continue to respond. We respond to a mass shooting in Canarsie. Well, I think, would that consider to be a mass shooting? I think it's like three to four or five people is a mass shooting. We got to figure that one out. I think so.
Right.
But if a mass shooting happens, and the fact that gun violence is being highlighted in our urban American cities, and you have like five people who are shot right now, it is just like another storyline. It's
Yeah.
not like a major storyline. You know for sure that if you see that there was a shooting in, what's up guys? There was a shooting in if you saw that there was a shooting in urban in the suburban and five people were shot, this would have been national news. But
Absolutely.
I think that we have just normalized shootings right now everywhere. What do you think?
You hit the nail on the head, which is a travesty, really, because to use the word normalize when it comes to shooting, that is just an oxymoron of itself, and you just can't do that. We don't want to get to a place, Monroe's, where we're thinking that this is the norm, right? We
Right.
just can't do that. So we're in an awful place, and that needs change right now, for real. We have to
Yeah,
do something.
definitely. Yeah, and I think that the mayor called for the plan of putting having clergy do all the things that they were saying to do. I mean, this is what we do. We have been doing these things. What we really want is that we want clergy to organize in the local communities.
Right.
I don't want, and I don't need. When we say need, I would prefer not to take clergy from Harlem and have them to come to Brooklyn to take care of Brooklyn in the particular areas. We want clergy to rise up where your churches are, where you live. Rise up and support the movement in that particular area. If we can take, if we can organize these peace march, but the march has to be with a purpose. I'm
Right.
looking at the
Absolutely.
idea of, like I said to the folks yesterday, if you're gonna bring, let's say, 100 people to a march in a place that you receive a shooting, don't do the march and then go home. Do the march and then separate everybody by tens and take a 10 block radius and go into every block, talk to individual, engage them, give them the resources, and then you disperse and go home. But just to do a march right now, and the streets are so hot, we have to do a march and then action. It's not just a march anymore. It's march and action. Take folks, break them up into 10 people, and I'm saying, okay, we're gonna take this block. You take this block. As we march down, you turn off. You talk to people on the block, engage with young men. That is what is needed right now in our city. Is that all the marches must turn now into street engagement and action.
Hey, let me ask you a question, Pastor Monrose. Do you think the people are
Yeah,
thinking, the people who are watching clergy and the church, do you think that they're thinking that the marches are effective at this point?
yeah. Okay. So marches are very effective, very, very effective.
Okay.
But you can't do one thing alone. Okay. So you have to we have to, what we call in our clergy group, we have to pray at our feet, right?
Hmm.
And you have to march, you have to pray, but then you also have to move, because prayer always moves you to action. There is no prayer
Right.
that doesn't propel God to move. And so when you pray, you're asking God to move on a situation. You're not just praying because God wants to hear your voice, right? You're praying because you want God to move. It takes faith to move God.
Right.
And so the
Absolutely.
idea of huh?
Absolutely.
And the idea of marching is great. But what we're saying right now is that we have to then spread out now into an area where a lot of these young men, listen, I spoke to a young brother, to a couple of young brothers yesterday on a stoop, while we're doing some outreach and engagement in the community.
Mhm.
And their thought process was amazing. I would have never, and we don't ever underestimate the fact that you have these young men, you think that they're worthless.
Mhm.
Dude had tattoos all over him, he had a joint, but the guy was spitting out knowledge. Young
Right.
brothers in the 20s talking about the senseless violence, talking about the fact that if you could kill a 1-year-old child, if you could kill a 14-year-old, you're not about the gangster life. Gangster life is about saving people, it's about doing things. You
Right.
know, those are thugs
Wow.
and terrorists. And they on the street was telling you that definitely that type of behavior is not even near to what they're thinking, um, that they would expect from the folks on the street. Yeah, what's up?
Right.
So when we march now, we have to call for um, people who are marching to break up into tens and
Mhm.
hit all of the blocks, hit all of the corners, because the mayor is saying that you want clergy to organize. And yes, and so clergy who are not sure what to do, some people feel so hopeless and helpless
Right.
that we are seeing and hearing all of the violence, but they don't know what to do. We know what to do.
Mhm.
So what to do is that you got to be organized, you got to be engaged on the street level areas. And I think that we can provide some training for any clergy across the city who would want to do so as well.
Right. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we're still on the case. We're still on the cases. We're still supporting mothers. We have a great mother support group. And again, unfortunately, no one wants to join that club. People who son and daughter have been shot and killed, unfortunately, on the streets of our cities and our islands. We want to make sure that we're supporting them in the best and possible way moving forward. So what we have, if you look in our description today, there's an article in which I'm featured in talking about the fact that a we need to have a multifaceted approach to the violence that we see. It can't just be one thing. It has to be all of us working together. More
Mhm.
power to you, Dr. Light. More power. It has to be more than just one thing. It has to be multiple levels of different things that we have to do in our communities. And but the key though is that never allow for the fact that all of these shootings that we think that we get to a place where it's just another shooting. And you don't want it to ever become a norm. Every day and every time that you hear it, it has to hurt you, it has to pain you. You have to be like, no, this can never be the norm. You got to work very hard at those things. So definitely, we have to do it from the east to the west to the north to the south. We can't give in. Our churches have been in. How long your church have been in the Weeksville section?
It's at 172 years.
Okay,
Right.
172 years. Your church has
Yeah.
been in the Weeksville area, right?
Mhm.
172 years.
Right.
172 years. So I tell people when they talk about the violence that's happening, I told them that, listen, we're not going anywhere. So you can talk about the police reform, you can talk about the shootings.
Right.
All I'm telling you is that our churches have been there for 50, for 75 years, for 100 years, for 175 years. We have
Absolutely.
weathered the storm. So we're not packing up our bags and thinking that our communities are worthless. That's why churches thrive in these areas, because we wanted to go into places where people have decided to give up on the community.
Mhm. Right.
But now we are saying that no, this is our calling. This is what God has called us for. So now
Right.
that we have these shootings all over, people are saying, okay, I'm going to be moving out of New York. I'm moving out to this place. I'm moving over here. I'm moving over there. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, we are not moving. This is where we are. This is where God has planted us. And we're going to keep on doing the work that we need to do. Straight up. So, yes, we know that there's a surge of violence in New York City. There's a surge of violence all over the country. There's a surge of violence even in the Virgin Islands. and I'm on that case on the Virgin Islands for surety, with two family members who were shot and killed. No, this is never a situation where um, we are going to allow for it to be the norm. You should never be able to kill a 1 year old and sleep well. You should never be able to shoot a 14-year-old. You should never be able to shoot a 50-year-old and sleep well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. But Pastor Monrose, it, you know, and I've been hearing this dialogue that a lot of people are saying, you know what, New York or Brooklyn is getting crazy, and so they're moving out of New York. The honest truth, and you just hit the nail on the head. The honest truth is, no matter where you go, there's going to be some form of violence. But I think what we're missing sometimes in the church, and I tell my church this all the time, is that even though we're here for 172 years, we cannot forget the purpose of why any church is in a neighborhood, because the church is not the building. The church is a part of the people. It's the people in the neighborhood that makes up the church, right? So, but it has a purpose, and the purpose is to impact that neighborhood, is to say, hey, we're here, what do you need, how can we help? And the community comes together and do that impact. And so whether it's a church that's 1 year old or a church that's 172 years old, um, you still have to remember the why you're in that neighborhood. I said it. Oh, that's a good way of saying it. The why of the why you're in that neighborhood. And so you can't forget the why. If you forget the why, you lose your purpose. And so with the gun violence, for a 14-year-old to get killed, oh, come on, running away because he's trying to run away. You said it perfectly a few days ago. Just imagine that little child is running away because he's trying to run towards age 15. He's trying to run towards age 16. He's trying to run towards age. He's trying to reach the age of his father, right? To go to college, to experience the world. And when you take that from a 14-year-old, you would take anything else from anyone else. You didn't even give that 1-year-old an opportunity to experience life. Oh, come on. And so that's why the church has to get up and say enough is enough, right? You have to say enough. Okay, this happened, no longer. We move forward from here. And they have to, and you're right with the marches, when you marches is good, but when you march, just don't disperse afterwards. Talk to the people in the neighborhood. Get to know who's who. And that's where I think the last missing element that we have to do something.
We got to definitely return to that. Listen, I was speaking to Natasha Christopher yesterday, one of our survivor specialists,
Mm-hmm.
and she was telling me about the story that her son. I mean, this is so cruel. Her son was killed, was shot. He was 14, and then on his 15th birthday, he died. He spent like 8 days in the hospital.
Okay. Wow.
So she was telling me that and I said to her, like, tell me your experience. This is in Brooklyn. I told her, retract. Yesterday I like literally, interview. I said, retract for me. Like, how did you know that your son died? And most of the people who know how the children died normally would tell me that someone called them. Mm-hmm. So a friend who he was with, a family friend, called and said, listen, Akil gets shot, and he's going to the hospital. She went to the hospital. I said, okay, so tell me your experience now. So she got to the hospital, and now she saw the detective. Mm-hmm. And the detective, as opposed to giving her the details about her son situation, started to question her like she was on the investigation. And she was saying to me like that is some of the worst feelings ever. And I think that our police departments all over have to change that you cannot victimize and criminalize Black people because they're shot and killed on the streets.
Right.
Because what we are saying is that God forbid that you see somebody who, like, right now I'm in the hood, you know, the neighborhood, my neighborhood, and as you can see behind me, of course, you know, we're in a project. We run in the place that has the most violence,
Right.
and and if you just see me, no wallet on, you know, somebody call and says, you know, another black person gets shot, you come up to me. Are you going to give me CPR? Are you going to try to save me? Are you going to do the best possible to get me to the hospital? And these are questions and ideologies that we have to make sure that every life matters to us as individuals. And so when we talk about the fact that Black Lives Matters, it has to matter to as well, even if you are shot. You cannot
Right.
be criminalized because you are in a community and then you get shot to death, you know, or you get shot and you need help, and you need to get to the hospital as soon as possible. These are things, and I thank God for the hospitals that we have too as well. You know, Brookdale, Kings
Interfaith.
County, Interfaith, they do like the best job possible, because you know most of the doctors, they understand where they serve.
Right.
So as
Right.
she was telling me,
Absolutely.
like her experience, I think that sometimes we don't understand, like, there are different areas and levels of the violence that we talk about. It's not just that someone is picking up a gun. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
baby, my wife. What's up? She's not studying me. She's saying, "Who's this crazy boy shouting in over here?" So, we have to make sure to understand that. Listen, there is no one who we should treat everyone, and we should
Right.
treat everyone who, all of our young boys, our young men who shot on the street. We have to treat them with the ultimate care and try our best to save them. That person can turn their life around. We never know. And
Mm-hmm.
Natasha was telling me, um, she was telling me about her experience, and she told me she felt so bad. Her son, you know, she don't know the condition, and she's being grilled
Wow.
about, you know, like if she's a suspect, wanted to know what he's involved in. No, a
Right.
mother or a father wants to know the condition of the child right there. All of that investigative stuff, you know, you could wait for a minute, just
Mm-hmm.
tell them so that they can grieve, and then they could understand, you know, what the condition of their children um, is in. And that in of itself, we have to fight as clergy too as well, to understand the spiritual and the human side of the violence. What people don't normally see, we call them the hidden effects of gun violence. How
Right.
parents are treated when they get to the hospital, what information is being said to them, making sure that the doctor understand the cultural competency to know that when they're speaking to someone, a child, even though you have someone who's riddled with 8 bullets, it doesn't mean that he's a criminal or she's
Wow.
a
Yeah.
criminal.
Right.
You don't know that. So you got to treat people with the ultimate respect, who have come into hospitals and who you find on the street who have been shot. And we need to really advocate, I think, as the moral voices, we need to advocate for those things.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. Well said. I mean,
Michelle, oh,
yeah.
no, I was
Go ahead.
saying that. No, Michelle was saying, Michelle, good to see you and good morning. And thank you so much for, I mean, Michelle is just an amazing woman. I met Michelle like a year or two ago. She has continued to do, um, you know, great work. You know, with her son, he was a few, how many credits away from getting his degree, and she has been trying to work with the college for all of these years to get her son to get a degree. I
Yeah.
don't, I, you know, a degree, even though he missed like a few credits. And I think that the college, I don't remember the name of the college, but Michelle, maybe you could tell me like how much credits he needed before he graduated. I think like even the college could have done something like that in his honor. That here is a
Right.
young man who was mistakenly shot waiting on the bus stop at 8:47. Here is a young man whose life was taken away from him, and the mother, look, she's saying right now, my child was
Yes.
dead, and I'm posting these things so you can see. We're not making these things up.
Yeah.
My child was dead, and I had to identify him by a tag. But the question began asking about him. It was horrific that a young
Horrific.
black man dies and that they think he's a gang member. My son was a college student. Yes, your son was a college student.
Ouch.
And not because, your son get killed and he's in a dark bus stop and no one came to his aid. And then he gets to the hospital. We have to treat that person, that young man, with the best quality care possible.
Right.
Because not everyone who is shot and killed, and even if you shot and killed and you were in a gang or what have you,
There
it's
you go.
okay. You can still
Yes.
take care of them. You can still
Right.
love them.
Right.
But I'm telling you, all of these mothers will give you horror stories of how they found out that their children was killed. Sad.
Yeah. Hey, Michelle, my
Breaks my
prayers,
heart.
man. That one. I'm reading this and I'm like, wow, that is a rough one right there. It's a rough
Yeah.
one. And Pastor Monroe's, there's whether your child is shot by being in a gang or on the choir in a church, no life is a castaway.
None.
No life is a castaway. And
None.
so to treat somebody and say, oh, he deserved to be shot because he was in a gang. No, because hello everybody, that child might be turn out to be possibly the next president, the next pastor, the next community leader. We don't know. And so every child, regardless of it deserves a chance. And that's why the shooting is senseless. It's absolutely mind-boggling when a mother, y'all see what she just wrote, can say that my child was shot at the bus stop. I mean, he was not in a gang. He went to church. Her only child. Oh, come on. I mean, it's we need
It's
to
the pain.
re-educate ourselves, yeah,
The pain
and
is
our
real.
community, yeah.
The pain is
So
real. So
wow,
all of my mothers out there, we salute you today. We're
yeah,
praying for
we
you.
do.
We love you. Andrea Hamilton, we love you. Um, Michelle Barnes Anderson, we love you.
Yeah,
All of you who are on here, you can just put your surname in the timeline. We love all of you. We're going to
wow,
support you. One of the things that we do, and we pride ourselves in as our clergy, is that we make sure that we take care of our families the best way that we can. We're not perfect, but we try our best. We want you to know that your son's life is not in vain. Your daughter's life is not in vain. I can remember my first case in New York City was Travon Wynn. Never forget that. Shot, went to get something to eat maybe about 9 years ago, and get caught in the crossfire. And again, his mom had no idea how she would reacted. Had no idea that her son, that she loved so much, that she raised, strong brother, his life would be cut short on the street. And we had to fly his body back down to North Carolina, St. Augustine's Church, here in Brooklyn. Canon Williams was there at the time, paid for the body to get back to North Carolina. These are unsung heroes in our communities, things that we
mhm,
don't come out and say. People think that when you shoot a gun and that bullet leaves the gun, the effects are every years later. Mothers, I know one mother, not one but some, who sometimes because of the all of the pain, their marriages have been destroyed and messed up.
yeah,
And I think that I want the brothers in the community to know, when you pick up a gun, that you're doing so much harm to families. And I want to let the community know too as well, is that you don't just sit back and think that it's another case, another young person who's killed and they deserve to die. And don't think about the fact that when you see that 5 people get shot, that's 5 families who are in
yeah,
different levels of pain and trauma. This is something that is real in our community. And that's why all of us, we are needed.
mhm,
It's not just me. It's not just Dave. It's not just those who decide to run or to do whatever else for families. It's all of us. The pain that families go through because someone, of the family members. is killed, the heartaches, the pressure, and to not have simple and basic answers, I want to tell you, it's a double travesty.
Right.
So we're asking everyone that what we want from you, we want your compassion, we want your will, we want your prayers, to understand that families are hurting and in need of community support. That when you hear that someone, think about this, if you have a 1-year-old or a 14-year-old or 8-year-old or 3-year-old who is just shot, how would you feel? I mean, Dave, how it's hard.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'll be transparent. I'm the wrong person for you to ask that because, like I said, I have two young babies, and every single time we hear about someone being shot, I pray. I'm so serious. I pray for the family, and I also pray for my own children. And because there is no way that you can compensate for that pain and that loss. It's unimaginable. And just think about it, people. Like these families, like 4, 5, 6. We said last week, Monday, this Monday, when was this Monday when we went to the 1-year old, and there was 17 cases, right? And all these families, and the same night, there was around 9 to 17 other shootings. That's all these are families. All these are families. And so if I was away from my family, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, Pastor Monroe's, every time I hear shooting in the hood around where I live in Bed-Stuy, oh Lord Jesus, I say 10 Hail Marys and one glory be unto. I start praying so much. And it's, my wife laughed and she said, "You're crazy." She says, "Dave, you just pray and plead the blood." But we have to go beyond this and say, okay, how can we stop this, that we don't normalize and we don't live in fear that it could be one of your own, right? And whenever you guys hear a shooting, don't say, "I wonder who it is." Ask, call your family to make sure it's none of your children. Imagine that. Call your family. Because it could be any one of us, Pastor Monroe's. It could be anybody. And so imagine that pain. No, I couldn't deal with it. No, I couldn't deal with Michelle's pain. Michelle, I'm reading this. I couldn't deal with your pain, especially if I know my child is doing everything right. Oh Lord Jesus, nah, I couldn't do it.
Yep,
Couldn't do it.
it's a real challenge. Thank you, Michelle,
Yeah.
for sharing this with us on our live
Thank
feed
you.
today. 90 credits to go. He had an associate degree transferred to John Jay College with yeah. Thank you for that. Every child, yeah, your child is dead, and the first thing that they asked was a gang member. You see, I'm telling you, I'm not making this up. I'm
Right.
not making this up. Black young boys who get killed is also criminalized because they get shot and because that they're black in our communities. We're making the point over and over again. And as I said to you, is that we don't have to go look for material. Okay?
Right
We
here.
don't have to try to go look for material. These are the things that we know for sure based on all of our experiences. Look at right here. The first thing that they asked was he a gang member? And even if he's a gang member, because like one person said to us, one senator keep on saying to me, is that the God Squad is a gang, and they was in a gang, but it's a different type of gang, right?
Right.
And this is the only minority that are not treated like this when the child, and that is true. When the child is murdered, the mother must be dealt with, and the family must be dealt with care. Don't come to ask me if he was involved in this or not. Yes, you're gonna get to that at some point, but you have to treat because the person that's dead or the person that's dead, they are dead. Now
Right.
we have turned our attention to the people that is living, and the way that you treat the person that's living is important, because unfortunately, the person that we come to investigate, they have died.
Right.
So
Wow.
to the people that is alive. And mothers, oh man, this is a long one. We can't even see over this long one, Michelle. Break them up for me in small pieces. Okay, educational program. They're giving them. Oh yeah. Um, just read this for a moment and just listen to what I'm saying. Also, too. Yes, Michelle. Um,
Oh, that's good. You got to read this one. That was good.
no, and that is true. I'm bringing this up. I want this to be pointed out that that Michelle Barnes Anderson, who is on right now and posting, she is correct. Matter of fact, Michelle, I'm gonna hopefully I could have you on, maybe tomorrow, God willing. But when we went to court, and when I went to court with Michelle at the sentencing of the young man who killed her son, she wrote a letter to the judge, and she told the judge and her attorneys that she don't want this young man to get no more, I think no more than 20 years, or don't get life in prison. She want him to get a degree, to do good, and to be able to come back into society. This mother lost her only son,
Wow.
and she is saying that she forgive him, and she need him to be in a prison. Yes, in a prison. She was telling me, and that's another thing that we need to work. And she was saying that we need a prison, put him in a prison that have these programs so that he could have a second chance.
Right. Wow.
And that now for me resonates even more. Let me put this up one more time in case you didn't see it. You see that? You see that? What power? What power that is? And these these
Ooh, that's
these are
good.
mom,
That's
these
good.
are mothers who is saying that, listen, I I yes, I'm gonna forgive you. You're gonna do your time. You could be forgiven. You can find Jesus in prison, and you can still do your time. All your sins can be washed away. However, however, um, the there's a level of forgiveness that I find in my in our support group of moms, that sometimes I will say in our church that we need that level of forgiveness. People who have lost their children to gun violence, for the most part, say that, listen, I can't walk with the guilt. I have to forgive that person for killing my child. Yes, they could do the time, and we don't want to mix up. Forgiveness is not saying that the person don't need to do the time. Forgiveness is saying that I'm going to release myself and the pain that I feel, and I'm going to release you. But I don't want what happened to me to happen to you. And that's
Mhm.
the power of forgiveness. And Michelle showed us that in her actions. And she said to the judge, I hope that you sentence this young man who killed my child to a prison, that he can get an education, that part of his punishment is that he should have a degree, learn, so that when he comes out, and his child should not face the same fate that
Wow.
my child faced in the streets of Brooklyn. That I mean, what more do you want from them?
Whew.
What more do you
Yeah.
want from them?
Hmm.
Hey, everybody, Dave, listen, thank you again for joining me in this run today.
Absolutely.
The,
Absolutely.
the body's saying, what in the world is going on? I'm I'm limping home right now. I need to be in a sauna.
Hey,
Like
we're calling out all pastors in Brooklyn. I saw Pastor Alex Williams. Bro, you're young. You need to come out. All
exactly.
young pastors and older ones, come on. Listen, Will, what park is that we went to this morning? I don't know. It's on Bergen and then
Saint John Rec.
there you go. Come on out. 6:30, 7 o'clock. Come on out. Let's run and let's
All right,
talk.
man. Cool, man. Bless
All
you.
right. God
All right,
bless
man.
y'all.
Take
Take
care.
care, Pastor. See you tomorrow.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. God
Take good
bless
care.
y'all.
All right, take care. All right, everybody. We're thanking God for all of you. I trust and pray that you're gonna have a great day today. Um, we're really working our very hardest to do the best that we can do with the circumstances that is faced with us today. We are praying for all of your families. We are praying for the family of Aaron, Ashby, of Ricky, Ashby. We're praying for all of the families of those who have died. Felicia, we praying for you. I know that you know lost your 1-year-old son and have to make funeral arrangement. We're praying for that family. Just all of you on this stream. We're just praying with you, but we also supporting you as well. I know that you have a family here with you. So take good care, everybody. God bless you, and I will see you again tomorrow, God's willing. Take care. Have a good day, everyone.